Hi drummers, it's Rob Litton here from drumstheword.com. Welcome to this free mini song lesson where today I'm going to show you how to play the best parts, the most important parts, the coolest parts to the song Saturday Night's Alright for Fighting by Elton John, drummed by his favourite drummer, Nigel Olsson. As always, I've got the free PDF for you to download from my website for free. You can get both of these pages by clicking the link below. So make sure you have this printed out in front of you as we go through this lesson together. It's going to make things a lot easier for you to understand. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different parts, all those major drum fills, all those major grooves that you're hearing throughout the song to help you get the core of the song learnt. This song was just over on my Facebook page, so if you want to make your own song suggestions, I just recently posted, literally yesterday or today, this morning or last night, a new post asking for your song suggestions over on Facebook. You'll see it pinned to the top of the page, so please go over there, type your song suggestions in the comments, then others get to vote on them and the most popular songs get chosen for future lessons like this one was today. So, 153 BPM, quite a fast song. And I've written here the most important thing to understand right at the beginning is note the hi-hat part was recorded separately, and so some parts are impossible to replicate. So this lesson contains combinations of parts that one drummer could play. So what I mean by that is that open hi-hat stuff that you hear throughout the song, that was overdubbed. Nigel was playing the bass drum, snare drum, and perhaps a quiet on his leg or a quiet hi-hat. But then over the top of that, Nigel came in and overlaid those big open hi-hat parts. That's why they sound so much louder than the rest of the drum kit. And it's sort of proven throughout the song in certain drum fills where both hands are on the snare drum playing fast 16th notes, you can still hear that open hi-hat occurring over the top. So it's definitely overdubbed, but of course that means that when we try to learn it or try to replicate it precisely, it's impossible. Some parts of the song we just can't replicate exactly. So it's only a few parts in the song that you couldn't do with one drummer, but we'll talk about that as we get through it. But understand that some of this is made a lot more difficult because that open hi-hat part was played over the top. But most of it we can replicate. So our first little section here, I've got the first 4 lines of the song because it's really just an exercise in snare drum and bass drum displacement. We've got some cool drum fills. We've basically got the meat and potatoes of the entire song in these first 4 lines. So the song comes in with the snare drum on 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and just one hand. You could play left, right, left. I play left, left, left. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then we come in with our first groove. Up on the closed hi-hat, the first bar, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that bass drum on the and of 3 pushing into beat 4 with the snare drum. Then we get our first weird little bit, bar 3 of this line. We get the snare drum on beat 2, but there's no snare drum on beat 4. So he skips over beat 1 on the bass drum, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Lots of offbeat ands there on the bass drum. In fact, all the ands on the bass drum. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, resolving into the next bar. Back to normal here, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then the last bar of that line, we get a very cool idea where the snare drum is played on beat 1, 1 and these bass drums playing on the ands in between the next snare drum on beat 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So just that first line is pretty crazy with the snare drum displacement, etc. The not inclusion of it, that's a phrase. Let me just play the first 5 bars for you. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I'll play it all up to speed for you in a moment. Next line, 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. Nothing strange going on there. Bar 2, skip over the bass drum on beat 1. It's a common theme in this song where we're playing the and of 4 and the and of 1. You're skipping over beat 1 on the bass drum this 2-bar combination. So bar 2, 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and. Lots of offbeat bass drums there, bar 2. 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and. 2 snare drums there, 4 and. Third bar, simple stuff, 1, 2, 3, 4 and. Our first bass drum on beat 3, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4 and. And then this last bar is simply 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and the and of 4 is also the open hi-hat and 1 into a closed hi-hat. The third line, standard stuff, 1, 2, 3, 4 and, so beat 3 being played there again. Bar 2, skipping over the whole of beat 1, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and our first open hi-hat, well, our second open hi-hat there with the bass drum. 4 and 1 closes on beat 1 of the next line, of the next bar, sorry. Then bar 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then this next bar has this cool little drum fill which is played throughout the song. 1 and 2 and then down to the snare drum, 3 and 4 and. Right, left, right, but the last note is up on the crash cymbal with the bass drum. So we get all 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Right, left, crash. But understand that a bass drum and crash is on the and a beat 4. So when you go to the next line, don't feel the need to rush back to the hi-hat for beat 1. You could skip over the hi-hat on beat 1 and just come back in with the hi-hat on the and of 1 where that bass drum is on the 4th line. So the 4th line, 1 and 2, 3, 4 and. Then bar 2, 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1. So 3 and 4 and 1 with an open hi-hat at the end. 3 and 4 and 1. Third bar, 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. Then the 4th bar is our first example of these open hi-hat barks on the ands. Very cool idea. So to replicate it, we play 1 and. Now, whenever we get an open hi-hat, I'm just going to play it on the and, the right hand on the and only when it opens. I'm not going to play the hi-hat with the right hand where it closes. This is a common thing with drummers to make the hi-hat bark stand out a little bit more. It also allows you to play some accents on the offbeats to really make that hi-hat sing. Feel free to play all the hi-hat notes throughout this if that makes you more comfortable. But you'll probably agree that the more years you've been playing, just being able to accent the ands nicely gives that hi-hat more volume, but also more definition with the open hi-hat thing. So that's how I'm going to play it, and I believe that's how Nigel would have done it. He wouldn't have played. He would have played and not worried about striking the hi-hat where it closes. So that's what I'm going to do. That's what I believe what Nigel would do. We get 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we got the hi-hat playing 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The bass drum coming down with each of those open hi-hats with the snare drum in between. 1 and 2 and 3 and. But then we get 4 and. 4 and. And you'll see that coming throughout the song where you've got to be able to play multiple snare drum notes, the 1 and 2 and or 3 and 4 and, while still maintaining that and offbeat. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. We play the last 2 bars for you. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So now let me play all 4 lines up to speed without me yakking on over the top so you can hear just the drums. Here we go. So the rest of this lesson is going to be sort of focusing on more of the drum fills and some of the more important grooves in the song. So the next section occurs at 35 seconds and is our first example of this 2-bar phrase that keeps coming up in the song, where the first bar is simply 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, simple as that. But then the second bar has some open hi-hat stuff and then some extra snare drum stuff on top. So this is our first variation of a drum fill that Nigel plays a couple of times throughout the song. 1 and 2 and, fair enough, we've done that already, but then we get 3 and 4 and. Before we just had 4 and, now we get 3 and 4 and. Again, we're just hitting the hi-hat on the ands. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Again, last time I mentioned it, feel free to play all the notes. If you wanted to, I'm playing all the notes with the right hand there. Then we get, just for the 3rd and 4th bar, I wanted to include this little drum fill at the end. 1, 2, 3, 4 and then 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a. Now this is our first example, I think, I heard, where you got this open hi-hat over the top on the and a beat 4, but also the snare drum is being played underneath it. So you could play 1 and a 2 and a 1, no, sorry, 3 and a 4 and a 1, but I've written it as 3 and a 4 and a 1 because that's what I would play. And that's your choice, open hi-hat or the snare drum notes. So let me play those 4 bars for you up to speed. So at 1 minute 13, we've got another example sort of similar to the intro, where we got this displaced snare drum. Well, not displaced, it's just not included in the second half of bars 2 and 4. So bar 1, 1 and 2, 3, 4 and, but then bar 2 is this, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. It's actually the third bar of the first line of the page, if you can see, it's exactly the same. Back to snare drum 1, 2 and 4 for bar 3. 1, 2 and 3, 4 and then bar 4 is the same as bar 2, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, but we get an open hi-hat at the end. So let's hear those 4 bars. So at 1 minute 42 we get our next variation of the 2-bar bat and bat and bat idea. Very similar to an idea from the intro, but we got the batten bit starting it. So the first bar, then we get, it's the 4 and idea recurring at the end of the bar, which we've gone over in a previous example. So let's hear those 2 bars up to speed a couple of times. At 1 minute 57, we get the simplest variation you can play of this idea. So if you're really struggling with all these extra snare drum notes, this is the one to play every time Nigel plays it. It'll get you through the song. No one will really mind them missing the extra snare drum notes. They're really listening for those open hi-hat barks. It's the most prominent part of the song. So it's the first bar standard stuff as we've gone over, but then the second bar it's simply 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. It's just that all the way through. So we get so that's your simplest idea that you could do if you're really struggling with this. But that does occur at 1 minute 57. Okay, up to speed. At 2:04 we get a little drum fill that pops out of nowhere. First bar standard stuff, 1, 2, 3, 4 and again skipping over beat 1 on the bass drum for the next bar. 1 and 2 and 3 and then down to the snare drum and a 40 and. Again using that offbeat crash and bass on the and of 4. So we get 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and a 40. I missed it. And a 40 and. And then we go into a next bar afterwards as well. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and a 40 and 1 and 2, 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and a 40 and. Up to speed. So towards the end of the song, Nigel starts to extend the length of the open hi-hat stuff. So we get at 2 minute 29, did I mention that? We get 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, easiest idea, continues into bar 2, 1 and 2 and, but then down to the snare drum from beat 3, 3 and a 40 and, simple 16th notes on the snare drum. So both bars together, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and a 40 and a 1. Up to speed. So finally at 3 minute 44, we get this really cool idea that would be pretty tricky for a beginner, obviously, and even an intermediate drummer to be able to play comfortably. We're playing this offbeat hi-hat bark thing idea over the top of some grooves. So the first bar, just included because it's a 4-bar phrase, 1, 2, 3, 4 and, standard stuff. Then into bar 2 where we get 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay, we've gone over that sort of idea before where the bass drum's coming down with the open hi-hats. But then bar 3 and bar 4, we get this standard groove where we're playing 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and over the top of this open hi-hat stuff. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So suddenly your bass drum is not playing every time with that open hi-hat note, it's playing it with the closed notes. Bar 4 it continues, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and the 4 and idea at the end. So the 4 bars slowly, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. It's that bar 3 that sort of goes back to playing 1 and 3 on the bass drum that sort of makes those 2 bars either side of it sound really cool and stand out. So let me play that again for you then up to speed. 2, 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And up to speed. So I hope you enjoyed the lesson. If you've got any questions, feel free to email me, rob@drumstheword.com. Don't forget to download both pages of the PDF drum chart if you haven't already. And then while you're at my website, you might want to consider signing up to become an online member. And what I currently offer for £97 is a full year's online access to every single full video song lesson I've ever recorded and transcribed. And unlike this lesson, I teach you the song from start to finish. You get the fully transcribed PDF drum chart. Every single bar is included. And I've got almost 600 full song lessons teaching many famous and popular songs, including a load of other Elton John, probably coming up to about 5 or 6 Elton John songs now, I'm not sure. And I'm sure I'll be adding more in the future. So there's lots of, if you're an Elton John fan, you got more stuff to look forward to in the future. As a thank you for signing up, I give you access to hundreds more little videos teaching you many famous drum beats, fills and even drum solos. I give you 3 ebooks I've written over the years containing hundreds more famous drum beats, fills and solos. And then over the year of your subscription, you also gain instant online access to all the new material that I upload for my members. And I record new lessons every week unless I'm ill or on holiday. So you've got lots of cool stuff to look forward to over the year of your subscription. But any questions about that, feel free to email me, rob@drumstheword.com. And until our next drum lesson together, toodle pip and happy drumming to you.